Good afternoon YouTube, and welcome back to the final episode of Project ZXR 400. And as you can see, we're outside, we're not in the garage, so that means the bike is working. Well, just about. So went to MOT, the bike has passed the MOT, the gearbox thankfully is all okay. We've got some other niggles, it's not revving out completely happy. I seem to have blown the fork seals even though I put the new pads in, which is making a mess down there. So it's not going to be the perfect road test, but join me today on taking the ZXR 400 and bring you along for the ride.
Before we head off on the road trip, I got to say a big thanks to Sanj and Spence for helping me with the recording. Spence seems to leave little Easter egg shots there, as we've just seen in every video, so it's always good as fun when it comes to editing to see what treats he's left me in the films.
Right, let's go for a little ride, shall we? So as we mentioned in the intro, not everything is perfect with Project ZXR 400. She needs a little bit of TLC still, but you know what? I've done 2 rides now. I actually went out and shot this video already, which is really frustrating, but had just terrible audio. So I hope you appreciate the effort. I've come back out in 5-degree weather to re-record this because the audio was just awful. So let's start with the most important thing, the engine. 400cc inline 4 liquid cooled. I mean, that's pretty obvious, I'd have thought, for a high performance Japanese bike. 63 horsepower, 25 foot-pounds of torque, top speed of 140 mile an hour. I mean, on paper it doesn't sound incredible, but 14 and a bit thousand RPM, you're not going to break the speed limit going through 2 or 3 gears, which most litre bikes, first gear, you've broken every speed limit in the UK. So maybe we should appreciate these little bikes now more than ever when we've got a world full of dash cameras, speed cameras, undercover police. This sort of stuff can keep you a little bit safer. And that's not to say it can get you in trouble, because I say the claimed top speed is 140 mile an hour, so not to be shied at, especially for such a small and old bike. So as we mentioned, mine's not running fantastic while we're talking about the engine. The gearbox is sweet. Those who watched the last episode, that was a big concern. Absolutely fine. Goes into every gear, doesn't pull out a gear, goes down the box. Absolutely sweet. The problem is when you get to about 8.5, 9,000 RPM, it just absolutely splutters. But what I will say is up to 8,000 RPM, it rides absolutely beautiful. And then the problem is you try and get through that 8 to 10k bit, it's really not happy. And then it hits 10k and it just sort of flies, you shift gear, it drops back into that flat spot. It's been getting better the more I ride it, but I don't just want to sit and hang that out because there's definitely not something right with the fuel in. As I mentioned, the bike is for sale for 99p. Well, not for sale for 99p, but the auction starts at 99p on eBay. No reserve, it's just going to go to the highest bidder. So yeah, if you are the winner, you're going to need to pull them carbs apart and find out what's going on. And as we mentioned, look at that. What a little noise. I will say that for a bike like this, a 400cc small super sport that really makes all its power above 10,000 RPM, and even though mine's running rough, it is cool above 10,000 RPM, you really feel that surge. It's actually still quite torquey. I say low down the revs now, we roll on, and it still goes okay. It's definitely, if you're comparing bikes of this sort of age to its sort of rivals, the RS 250, the RGV 250, all the 90s two-strokes that, yes, have very similar peak power, and yes, the two-strokes are lighter and a lot more feisty.
As you can hear, the microphone has failed again. It is driving me absolutely mad, and yeah, I'm not going out for a third time to film this because the forks are really bad. I'm getting concerned that fork oil could drip onto the tyres. It's compromising the brakes, so we're going to have to live with a voiceover on this one, guys and girls. I hope it's bearable. And we are going to get some new microphones again, so this doesn't happen anymore. Okay, so back on track, we were talking about the comparison of the ZXR 400. It's a fantastic bike. Mine isn't a brilliant example to really review, but it gives me a good taste of what these things are like to ride. The problem is they're at that price point where it still gets you a lot of other really great bikes, and riding it, something that really stuck out to me at the £4,000 mark is you could pick up a nice R6 5EB, the early carb one, and I really enjoyed riding the one of those. I had really enjoyed it. I'd love to ride another one again. They're in that sort of couple of £1,000 mark, really cool looking still, ride absolutely fantastic, and a sports tourer for the same sort of money. You can actually use it on the road. But direct comparison, obviously we've got the NC30, Honda's 400, and it falls, like I mentioned a minute ago, into the category of the RS250, the KR1S, all the 252 strokes, but they're £8,000. So I don't really think price-wise they're as comparable, but you can't beat a well-sorted two-stroke. Equipment on board the Kawasaki ZXR 400 is, well, pretty minimal. A lot like bikes of this age. You get your rev counter, you got your speedo, a water gauge, oil pressure, lights on, and indicator light. Don't really get a lot more than that. You don't even get a fuel gauge. So for some of you modern riders who take this for granted, it's an old school method of a fuel tap, which essentially you have off, which you do need to turn off because you've got carbs which can flood. You've got on, and then you've got reserve. And essentially how it works is when you flip it to reserve, it's a little pickup that's about halfway down the tank. So you know when your bike cuts out, you switch it to reserve, should really get to a petrol station. The fatal mistake many of us have made, switch it to reserve, go to the petrol station and absolutely brim it, forget to put it back to the on position, ride it on reserve, and yeah, you run out of fuel mid-ride. Definitely not ideal. So let's talk about the comfort of the bike. Now, as I mentioned in the comparison with the bike I would favour at this price point, the Yamaha R6 5EB, is it is a sports bike, but bikes of this time used to be a more sports touring riding position. They were definitely more road biased. But what I will say is the ZXR 400 does feel very aggressive. My weight is over on my wrists. It's a very sporty feel that feels more in line with a modern sports bike than a bike from the 90s. At 6'2", I don't find it particularly comfortable or spacious. That's not to say it's awful, and I've definitely ridden smaller bikes with bigger CC, but I think if you're a taller gentleman, you're probably going to struggle a little bit to get comfortable on this bike. The styling of the ZXR 400, well, back in the 90s, this thing would have looked incredible. And to be honest with you, looking at really good examples online for sale, I still think it's a lovely looking bike in good order. As we mentioned, my example's probably not the prettiest looking one about, or the best to show the lines off, and things like the air ducts that come from the front fairing down to the airbox feed are all sort of pretty much falling apart. All repairable and replaceable, but I don't think we're going to get a good look at how these can stand looking at my example. So I will put some images in of some decent examples of how they can look if sorted. And the good news is you can buy Chinese fairing kits pretty cheap, and unlike 10 years ago, they actually seem to fit pretty well. So certainly a good alternative to get these things looking epic, even for not a lot of money. If mine was to stay and I was going to potentially, which had been mentioned in the comments, go racing, which I have no idea how to get into that, but if I did go down this path, because it looks like these bikes are pretty popular to get your sort of entrance into track life, I would love to have gone full fiberglass fairing in the Kawasaki green. I saw an example on eBay and I thought, wow, that looks really cool with a headlight and tail light delete. And I could have gone down the whole route of building a daytime MOT bike, but we've already got the RS125 on the go. I'm just going to end up with a garage full of bikes that are very one-trick ponies. But yeah, I think these can look incredible, especially if you get the right colour scheme. I mean, for me, the ultimate looking Kawasaki is the ZX7R. I think that is the best looking Kawasaki ever made for me. And this is, I guess, a very baby version of that with those air feeds. Reliability, well, Japanese bikes by many are regarded as the most solid out there, especially when you compare it to a 90s Italian bike. Doesn't mean they're fault free. Some of the things I've read online is they do have issues with the engines going absolutely pop. And if I'm honest, I think it's probably because it's a 400cc motor, 60 horsepower that you're screaming the absolute life out of. And unfortunately, this style of bike probably fell into the hands of first-time riders that didn't have a lot of mechanical sympathy, didn't really understand how to look after a bike or warming it up, etc. And something that I've noticed looking back at the footage on mine is there's something up with the thermostat. It's either sticking open, which is better than it's sticking closed, because essentially I warm the bike up completely, get up to 50, 60 mile an hour, and the temperature starts dropping back. That's not to say the oil's completely cooled down, but again, for the new buyer, it's something I definitely want to look into if it was remaining. But then again, it is a couple of degrees out when I'm filming this. It's not boiling hot. The only final thing to add to reliability is obviously the bike is carburetted, and our fuels now are not fantastic for these old bikes. It really is doing some damage to them. And there's certainly something not right, potentially with a main jet in the bike, that's going to need stripping down and balancing to get it running absolutely perfectly. But other than that, everything works like it should. It does feel like a pretty solid bike, and I certainly didn't have any doubts in the reliability riding it. I thought, I'm actually going to get home today. The price point of the ZXR 400, well, as I've seen from looking online, realistically, you can buy one in bits that doesn't even run for about £800 to £1,000, and then at the other end of the spectrum, you can buy an absolutely showroom pristine one for £4,500 here in the UK in 2025. I'm sure in years to come, these will continue to climb in value because there is something magical about carbs. I can't really explain it. Like, yes, they're not as efficient. Yes, they're not as reliable, but they've just got so much character about them that I really enjoy riding a carbed bike when it's working properly. And as I've mentioned, be careful with what you're buying, because you could end up buying one that's a halfway house condition for £2,500, £3,000 and still put another £1,000 into it. But that's just the nature of restoring an old bike. And like I've done with mine, I really have no idea what it's worth. So I've just listed it 99p, no reserve. It'll go to the highest bidder. Fingers crossed we don't get an eBay time waster. The brakes on the ZXR 400, well, it's difficult for me to provide you an accurate insight to that. So in the build series, I did not even a refurb, I guess a light service on the brake calipers to unseize them. Kept the old pads in it for the time being, and I thought, actually, do you know what? I've got these Brembos in the box. I might as well actually get these fitted so that thing stops properly. And for the ride to MOT in the first half of the ride, it did stop really well. I've got to say, for an old bike, I was actually really impressed. And then the more time went on, I was like, I'm starting to lose brake power here. Like, the lever's solid, but I'm not getting any bite. And then when we parked up in the car park and I saw the fork oil had run absolutely everywhere. So I'm hoping for the next owner, it can all just be degreased and cleaned up. But yeah, I can't make any guarantees of that. But for initial brake bite and feel when it worked, yeah, I was pretty happy with them. I think for a bike of this age, I've heard about the calipers seizing up, but mine weren't in fantastic condition because it'd been left stored, but it looks like it's relatively easy to service them, as we showed earlier in the episodes. The handling of the ZXR 400. Well, let me start by saying technology has come a long way since this bike was designed and built, but back in the 90s, compared to other 90s stuff I've ridden, yes, I do agree this thing handles incredible. Especially when you consider the fork seals are absolutely shot to pieces on this example, and I'm running very, very old. I think they were Bridgestone tyres from memory, which didn't really give me the faith to chuck it into some roundabouts in 4 or 5 degree weather. But that said, there's obviously a lot of people that got in the comments in the series and said, I've been riding these years, I had one when I was younger, best handling bike I've ever ridden. And I agree, like I've said, it's a wicked little thing. It really turns in nicely. But if you ride something modern, yeah, not a chance this ZXR 400 would have any luck in the twisties. And even more so if you compare it like to the two strokes, the RS 250 that I had previously. They handle absolutely incredible. You can take such liberties with the handling on these things. But yeah, I'm going to say it's a good bike. It handles really well, even the current times. And again, it'd been awesome to see what a sorted one with good tyres and suspension actually rode like.
Hope you all enjoyed the video. If so, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. The bike will be on eBay. I'm going to put it on a 99p auction, no reserve. If you want to finish the build, I'd love to see it done. But for me, it hasn't done fantastic for the channel and I haven't particularly enjoyed it. So this is going to be goodbye for ZXR 400. But I think we've got something pretty cool coming next. Until next time, thanks for watching. Is that camera turned on? It didn't make a beeping noise.
I think it's on red.
Yeah, it did. Fair enough. Let me just sync the audio. I'm going old school, microphone in the helmet. I don't know if it'd be any good.